Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin, our premier football show. We talk college and we talk pro. With that said, let me go over some of the topics really quick. We're going to recap Monday night's games. We're going to talk about Cam McCormick of the Miami Hurricanes. We have a nice soundbite with him on Coach Cristobal. Talk about Georgia State and Georgia Tech. Can you believe that? This one's right up Mel Farr's neighborhood. And we'll talk about a game between James Madison and North Carolina. You'll understand in a moment. Thursday night football drew some pretty impressive numbers. We're going to talk about a matchup which is real even, and then finally we're going to have parting shots. So, hi everybody, we have a loaded show. All right. With that said, let me introduce the crew. To my right, we got Jeremy Ballrick filling in again. Thanks, Jeremy, for being on.
No problem.
And we have Melfar Jr.
What's up, fellas?
How are you? And Bo Crouch.
How's it going, everybody?
All right. And last but not least, Travis Sherlock Holmes. Welcome back.
Thanks for having
me. And Steve Ballesteri did a good job. Travis and Steve rotate every week. Tonight, it's Travis time. All right. With that said, we are going to recap Monday night's games. Tennessee beat the Miami Dolphins 31-12, while the Detroit Lions beat the Seattle Seahawks 42-29. The big news in that game was Jared Goff set an NFL record for completions in a row with 18 of 18. So, Jeremy, well, might as well, since you can talk about both games, one game, whatever you want to do.
Well, I think the biggest boon to the Titans, because it looked a little back and forth at the beginning, was unfortunately Will Levis hurting his shoulder and having to come out of the game because Mason Rudolph came in, and it looked like Miami never had a chance after that. In the Lions game, it was about time we saw them do what we've been asking them to do for 3 years, and that was take the lead, maintain the lead, and make the Seahawks chase. Now, granted, it was like playing against a college front seven with as many injuries as they had in the front seven, but they still got the job done. And the defense was adequate, but wasn't great. And it was about time we saw a little bit of that complementary football where the offense is able to dictate the defense doing just enough.
Okay, well, let's go to the chat room real quick so I don't get too far behind. RXJ, what do you have to go ahead, Jeremy?
Hello, friends. Happy Victory Tuesday. Go Lions 3-1.
Okay.
Daniel Berry Sports Highlight says, yo, and West Coast Wind says, evening, gents. That must be one of your guys there, right, Bo?
Yeah, both of those. Yep.
Okay.
Both of them. All right, very good. All right.
Okay,
okay, well, we have a lot of people from lots of different places. That's good. All right, let's turn over to Mel.
Well, I think I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. When they had Jared Goff dropping back 55 times, that's a recipe for disaster. They only dropped back 18 times this game. They established the running game. They dominated the line of scrimmage. And anytime you're able to do that, you're going to have a great chance of success. Now, granted, he was perfect as well. He was 18 for 18. But what you don't want, the best quarterback, I don't care if it's a young quarterback or older quarterback's best friend is a good running game. They got a two-headed monster there. They finally took advantage of them. We all saw it in that overtime win where they just drove down the field. They ran every play except for one when they did a little check down to, I believe it was a running back, and just drove down the field and ended up winning the game. That's who they are. When they went out and played Tampa Bay, they tried to be something other than who they were, and that didn't work for them. I mean, the team is not designed, and there was no reason for them to drop Jared Goff back 55 times because they were never behind more than one score. So there's never a reason to throw the ball that much. I don't know, what got into them, bookie or something. I don't know. But whatever it was, it didn't make sense because they just saw the film of what it took to win. And that's the recipe. And you have an offensive line where you're able to dominate the line of scrimmage and run the ball at will. That's what you have to do. And then the play action pass, it just opens up the play action pass, makes the guys that much more wide open. That's why Jared Goff was so successful yesterday because they were running the football so well. Play action is going to be there. The linebackers have to respect the fact when you fake the ball to the running back. So it was good to see that. I love those the black uniforms with the blue helmets. Man, that was nice. Now the other game with Miami and Tennessee, obviously it's tough when you don't have a quarterback, and a lot of these teams don't have a serviceable backup quarterback because you're paying so much money at that to the starting quarterback. So you only have a certain amount of money that you can pay per position. Now, if you allotted all your money for the starting quarterback, then it makes it very difficult for you to have a serviceable backup quarterback. They bring in somebody off of somebody else's practice squad. He's been around there for a couple of weeks. They think he's better than what they have. And, be honest with you, it was terrible. I mean, that was some horrible football to have to watch, with the fact that, when Will Levis was in there. Now, when Mason Rudolph got in there, it was a little bit better. But still, that wasn't very good football to watch. It was hard football to watch. And even the Lions, with the penalties that they kept Seattle in the game with the penalties. They're going to have to do something with the defensive backfield with Arnold, because he's just getting far too many penalties. It just doesn't make any sense. So either they're coaching it or they're allowing it, one of the two. But they've got to get that. They got to get that corrected. But that was a great game, great win. Seattle's a very tough team, as you can see. I mean, they're just going back and forth, just like body blow, just power punch after power punch, and it was a great football game to watch.
All right, well spoken, Joshua Dorr. You see that? Glad to have you on here. And of course, Joshua Dorr hasn't. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
He has a question for Bo. How long does it take Billy Sports Guy to do all his makeup?
Yeah, it takes him about an hour, hour 15 to do it. Now, some of the elaborate ones that you saw that he had, if you're following him, he actually had someone else do those. But his normal stuff for the games is right about an hour.
There you go, Joshua. You got your question answered. All right. With that said, we'll stay on point. Bo, you saw two interesting games last night. I know you guys were busy inside the Pigskin chat room, so why don't you break down the two that stood out to you, Bo?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, as a Hawks fan, it was a game that we knew going in was going to be a tough out. Not just because the Lions are an incredibly talented team, but to Jeremy's point, we had 3 starting linebackers out, 2 defensive linemen out, and then we ended up losing Julian Love during the game. There's some feedback. Not sure if it's on my end. Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. There was 900 yards of offense in that. Like it was everything you expect out of a Seahawks-Lions game, right? Every time they battle, it's 60 plus points and just a nail biter the whole time. The penalties were crazy, especially on the Lions side, especially when it comes to just how much they were grabbing receivers.
Yeah.
As many times as they threw the flags, they probably could have thrown it twice again as many times. I mean, like the one where he full on tackled DK, that didn't get a flag. I mean, I don't even how much more pass interference can you have? It was a great game. It kind of went the way I thought it was going to go, but it was a great game. The other one, on the other hand, was not a great game and was painful to watch. There was an interesting situation right at the end of the game, though, that the NFL, if you read the rules to it, is a little bit obscure. And that was the onside free kick. I feel like the NFL didn't think about it the whole way, because it doesn't, like when you're reading it, it doesn't actually really show you what the required landing zone is for that free kick, onside kick scenario. And the reason Miami doesn't end up with that ball is because it traveled outside of that. And I mean, even if you listen to the ref that night, it didn't sound like he really knew what the rules was, other than the fact that it broke the rule.
Could you, because I saw it, but I caught the end of it. Could you explain what happened on that play, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah. So, obviously it starts with the safety, right? And so it's the free kick, and the free kick isn't the way that it used to be. Now you're kicking from the 20, and it's still a punt, right? And so
Or kick. They can punt or kick it.
They can, yeah, exactly. And they designated for the onside version, right? But then he punted it up, and it traveled too far. And so when it landed, and you watch their coach completely lose their mind because they told their guy to fair catch, and he just gets out of the way. And had it landed within the range that it was supposed to, Miami gets that ball. It travels beyond its required landing zone, and there's a penalty on that. They obviously don't recover the ball. The worst part about that is then it is 10 yards from the spot of the kick, which means the other team gets the ball on the 10 now. So that's something the NFL is going to have to work out. That rule does not make sense because you basically just give them another score if you fail.
Yeah, I caught the end of that. So they all were like Peter, and got away from the ball, but it's a live ball. I thought,
Exactly.
I thought it was a live ball, and then I couldn't understand why all of a sudden the other team had the ball and they were so close to they were so close in the plus zone. Why they got the ball where they got the ball? I'm like, how did that happen? I mean,
So
I appreciate you going through that because I was watching them both. I had them both on the screen, but I had the volume on the Lions game. But I saw that happen, but I didn't know exactly what happened. I appreciate you going through that.
Yeah, so I guess for some reason it has to go through the setup zone. And, because you've declared it as an onside, so it's going to be a live ball. It's very interesting. It's something that I'm obviously going to be looking further into because the rules on it just don't really make sense.
All right, let's go back to the chat room real quick, unless you have something else you want to add to it, Mel. Go ahead. Of course, we know what he looks like when his mouth is wide open. We'll see if we can get him to move that jaw a little bit. But I'll move mine for the moment. That's what killed him. We'll see this. Yeah, there you go. Josh Resort says he looks pretty ridiculous, quite entertaining. Yeah, probably all right. All right, Mel, say ah. Just kidding.
Travis and Bo are like the Dudley boys. I don't know if that makes sense. I just wanted to say what's up to two of my favorite people. I love Herb and Rod's podcast. They're great guys. DK's a big boy though, like reffing Shaq. You let a lot more go. And he goes, no, there was nothing interesting about that game. And the ref was like, y'all want to do what?
Okay.
The most interesting thing about that game was a free kick, and that pretty much sums the whole thing up.
All right. Well, very interesting. Okay, go ahead, Travis. You haven't gotten a word in on this one. So why don't you, and then I'll finish it myself with a couple of short comments.
There's not a lot. I mean, to Her's point, to Bo's point, there was not a lot interesting about that Tennessee Titans game, simply because. Well, I'll say Tennessee Titans Dolphins game. I don't even want to give Dolphins credit because how do you have a backup quarterback situation this bad that you were even in the spot that you're in right now? But nevertheless, they are an NFL football team. Cool. They're like a great preseason game basically, where we're all learning the NFL rules. So thank you for that, I guess. But overall, I mean, you got a game where you have two quarterbacks that don't throw for 200 yards combined. I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. 3 quarterbacks who don't have a combined 200 yards passing. That is insane. In the NFL, and y'all not running wing T? That's crazy. So, yeah, there is not a lot to take away from that game other than the fact that the Tennessee Titans actually got a win. And that would make, unfortunately, my Jacksonville Jaguars the last remaining I can't say unbeaten, all defeated team. Well, we've lost every single game because the Tennessee Titans, led by the Mayo Messiah, Will Levis, got a victory somehow. And the only way they got a victory is because Will Levis got hurt and left the game with 25 yards passing. Or otherwise, they would have still been, a terrible team with a terrible quarterback. But nevertheless, my team is worse. So that's happening. That you guys have covered the Seahawks-Lions game well. I mean, again, this is Bo's team. This is the Detroit Lions, and I guess you all kind of rep, even if it's not your team, you kind of rep that team. So, yes, I mean, you guys kind of covered that from back to front. It was a competitive game. The Lions kind of controlled it from start to finish. I mean, what do you say to that? They did exactly what they wanted to do. They ran the game plan they wanted to run. I mean, your quarterback throws for 100%, completes 100% of their passes, technically speaking, because the one incompletion came back for penalty, whatever. And so that did happen. Uh, sorry, you muted, Mel. I see you talking.
I don't mute nobody. I don't play with that stupid
It doesn't
button.
count. I mean, that doesn't
I
count.
know. I'm saying
play
the
doesn't
one
exist.
incompletion did come back from penalty, so it didn't happen. But I was like looking at that, like, oh, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? Like a quarterback, like a pitcher with a no hitter. So when it happens, I'm like, oh, he meant. Oh, wait, it came back. All right, cool. It didn't happen. All right, whatever. We're pretending we didn't see it, but we all saw it. That. But nevertheless,
What are you
man,
talking about?
Hey, Mel.
They won, man,
Hey,
and it was cool.
Hey,
If
Mel.
it comes back, it doesn't count. So it's the same thing.
Hey, Mel, I got to tell you something. And I actually started laughing this time. And I really get me. I've never seen your mouth open that long before. If you ever looked at the tape, it was unbelievable. Everybody looks at my mouth being open a lot, but man, yours, I'll tell you, I got to see if Candy can get you that. So that way you always say, hey, you know what?
No, we don't. I don't need to see. I know what my mouth looks like when it's open, but that's
but now everybody else does too.
That's all right, man. That's,
all right. So
technology.
Let me go ahead and close this topic out real quick. Number one, I didn't see much of the Dolphins game because I was doing actually 108 Stitches baseball talk last night, and we had a pretty good show talking about AJ Hinch's return to Houston as well as some other topics. The Lions game was interesting. Let's face the reality. They lost 6 straight to Seattle, and that streak ended. The only thing I really got out of it was when the national commentator, I think Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, said that the Lions in practice need to get Terrion Arnold some mittens so he can stop worrying about holding everybody. So,
what's funny is, I love that comment, and I hated it at the same time. Guess who he's learning from? CD3, who had more defensive penalties against him for the exact same thing. And because of the way he reacted every time a PI was called from him, the rookie reacted the same way when it was called on him. You cannot have a leader, veteran, making that type of mistake. And he was almost attacking the referee.
I saw the game, Jeremy. Well, let me explain something to you, brother. I am not Ray Charles. I can see this stuff, I had glasses, obviously. My vision stinks. I get it, okay. I know that when you have one guy attacking the another, and it is what it is. But the bottom line is, you can say what you want about the comment, okay. But we're asking Terrion Arnold to get mittens, right? Okay, right, mittens, and we're talking about the mitten state. This is a mitten situation, okay, and I'm leaving it at that. Period.
With puns, all right.
There you go. So there you go. I mean, hey, listen, Jeremy. We realize that we're going to go out there and have a lot of information about how this rookie was trained by another guy. But in the end, they did get the win. They overcame those mistakes. Hey, let me tell you something. Joe Buck and I have met. We get along pretty well. So, I have no problem with him. In fact, I could tell people another day about a great story I had with his dad. But I get it. When you learn from somebody that has a hot temper, it's going to rub off on the rook. But that's why you have coaches, Jeremy. Coaches. COACHES. You have them. They're supposed to teach. And I can guarantee you, at some point, they're going to get this guy mittens. Okay.
I don't think they need to do that myself, because if you look at it, he already looks like a better coverage guy than everybody the Lions have drafted in the past 10 years at the position not named Darius Slay.
Well, they ain't saying much. That's not saying much, but okay, I'll leave it at that.
To be fair, the coverage is pretty tight if you're holding on to the jersey.
He was targeted 12 times last night. Yes, there was one PI and 2 defensive holdings from holding the jersey. CD3 had 3 PIs and 2 defensive holdings, and I think they could have called him for 4 more defensive holdings on DK.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
All right. All right. I think we've spent a lot of time on this topic. So what we're going to do briefly, okay, is everybody's game of the week, and then I have mine, and we're gonna have a good clip that I want to run along with mine. So, Jeremy, give me your game of the week. I know we've talked about the Lions. Come up with something else.
Oh, that's fine. The Vikings taking it to the Packers the way they did, and if the Vikings didn't go prevent defense and take their foot off the gas on offense, the Packers would have never been in that game. Because as soon as they stopped blitzing and went to zone coverage, that's what Jordan Love feasts upon, and that's when you saw him start to get comfortable. When they made him uncomfortable and they were blitzing him, you could see him wincing in pain every time he threw the ball in the first half. Kudos to the Minnesota Vikings, who had Minnesota going 4-0 to start the season. I know I didn't, but I did say the Lions would be 3-1 at the bye week.
I'll applaud you. Okay. All right. Off to Travis.
Game of the week. That's a hard one for me since I only watched 2 games for the most part. I can't say only, but mainly watched a full 2 games, and that was UCF Colorado and the Jaguars against the Texans. So, and honestly, I would not want to consider either of them a game of the week simply because both of my teams lost in both of them. So yeah, it was not the greatest weekend for moi, but nevertheless, I'm probably going to go with Jaguars because it at least went as expected. So we'll say that there was the Houston Texans had an opportunity, gave the Jaguars every opportunity in the world to kind of win that game. I mean, so many dang penalties. I forget if it was 13 or 16, but it was a lot of penalties. They handed them a muff punt on the 2-yard line to open the game to give them the lead going into the game. Just everything a team that's struggling as the Jacksonville Jaguars are sort of needed. And it doesn't matter. Like, they're still losing by halftime. They still have an opportunity late in the game, up by 3 with under 4 minutes left, and they just can't run the clock out. Give them the ball back after wasting less than a minute off the game clock, and CJ Stroud goes right down the field and scores. What do you do? What do you do? And you're missing someone at every level of the defense. I mean, Josh Hines-Allen's out with a concussion. You're missing your top 2 linebackers. You're missing your top safety and your top cornerback. And they couldn't stop a very solid CJ Stroud, on the last series of the game after holding him to no points in that rest of that half. It sucks, but that was my game of the week because it hurt a lot less than the UCF game.
Wow, that's fair. Okay.
That is a depressing game of the week.
Well, I guarantee you nobody was going to duplicate it anyways. All right, go ahead, Bo. Let's have your game of the week.
I'm going to go with the Ravens beating the brakes off the Bills, who through 3 weeks looked like the most balanced team in the league. And Derrick Henry tears off a 199-yard day and a couple of tugs. I mean, man, how about that? The best running team decided to start using their running backs the last 2 weeks. Pretty crazy. And he definitely needs a hug. But yeah, so I mean, it's got to be the Ravens because they're finally playing the way that we expected them to play at the beginning of the year.
Okay. All right, Mel.
Oh, and Von Miller got suspended today for 4 games.
Yes.
So the Bills keep losing.
3 hours ago.
Yeah. All right.
But what was the suspension for? I missed it.
For what happened last year, he had a domestic incident last year.
That personal conduct policy.
Okay.
Gotcha. I thought it was something new.
Good. I'm glad somebody brought that up. Now I don't have to worry about it next week. Good stuff. All right. Go ahead, Mel. What's your game of the week?
The games of the week came on Saturday. That's easy. I mean, the game of the week was Alabama, Georgia. That was the game of the week, without question. I mean,
that was
what
good.
The kid, what the quarterback did, man. I mean, that guy is there. He's unbelievable. The speed that he has is just unbelievable. Now, Alabama almost let Georgia get back in that game in the second half. I don't know what I don't know what they're talking about. I think they're already talking about where they're going to hang out later on, and whatever who they're going to go out with and all that kind of stuff. But those guys, man, the quarterback is unbelievable. Milroe. You look at where he was last year compared to this year, particularly last year at this time. I was like, Nick Saban, you couldn't get a better guy than this. I mean, this guy is horrible. He's awful. And the progression, I mean, how he improved week over week last year, where he is now this year is just unbelievable. And then the Miami Miami Virginia Tech game was
I
good.
gave you a game of the week, not games of the
I'm
week.
just saying, I mean, all the good games came.
No.
All the good games came on Saturday. You know, the
I
Miami
know what
Virginia
they.
Tech was a good
Yeah,
game,
but
and then
Hey,
Ole
wait.
Miss and Kentucky was a good game. Those were the best games.
Yeah,
All on
but
Saturday.
I'm giving you a timeout.
Oklahoma and
That's all they
Auburn. That
do
was a
that
good
in.
game.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Somehow you get topics in advance.
The best game was Alabama, Georgia, because you know me. I love it. I love to see these Georgia people. I love to see them wallow in their tears. I love to see them when they're swimming. I love to see that, because if they had come back and win, I wouldn't have been able to take it. I wouldn't have been able to stand it. And I stopped listening to talk radio just because of that. I can't listen to sports radio anymore because it makes me throw up in my mouth. I can't watch it.
Well, let me tell you something, Mel. What you just did with the games with an S on Saturday was a typical running back move, trying to break a few tackles and hit pay dirt. That's what you did. I gave you GAME, and you decided to stick an S on the back end of it, and the S does not stand for
football junkie.
I know you are. That's why you're a hit on this show, and that's why we love having you on this show.
He learned from Bill Belichick. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Come on, that's the rule.
All right, so here,
because for anybody that's here in the chat that didn't watch that game, just watch the last 4 minutes.
Which game?
Last 4 minutes of that game was electric.
Which
Alabama, Georgia.
Oh, yeah, unbelievable. I mean, that one pass, I've never seen anybody without dislocating your hip and blowing out your knee. I've never seen a guy do something like that before. I didn't even think the human body could do that.
All right, so here, let me give you my game of the week, even though Mel tried to tip my hand here, but I intercepted his ability to try to do a little of it. All right, I am going to go with Miami against Virginia Tech. Miami Hurricanes have been putting 40 and 50 spots on the last several opponents, and this time they only put 38 on.
Was it a catch?
What's that?
Ooh, was it a catch?
Was it a catch?
Which one?
Which one?
No.
The catch. Was it a catch? The Hail Mary. The last play.
Oh, was it a catch? I'll say no. Would you expect me to say anything else? Really? Seriously? Here, but let me say this.
I just don't understand. They spend big money to televise these games. Why they only had 3 angles and they had the worst cameras. I mean, they couldn't zoom in there and get a good, clear picture of the football. So if you couldn't even see if it was a catch or if it wasn't a catch. I think they should have just redid the down.
Redid the down.
Well, guess what, Mel? They didn't. All right, but here, there's a little.
I wanted the Hurricanes to win, though. I mean, football's good. College football's good when Miami's good. Oklahoma, Nebraska, UCLA. It's better when those schools are good.
Yeah, now you're on the right track.
Mel's treating this thing like it's pickup basketball. Hey, man, we're going to redo this. Just let's just do it again.
Wait. I have to say this, Mel. You said the good games were Saturday. That game was Friday.
Which one? Oh, okay, well, they were before Sunday.
Game was Friday.
Yeah, they were before Sunday. I mean,
can I add something about
Hey, Mel, wait, hold it. Mel, your Candy just busted you.
She did.
Go ahead.
That's why the cameras weren't that good because it was a Friday night game. That's right, because Andre Ware was calling that game. That's right.
Was he?
Yeah, it's not a Friday night game.
No. I don't see a lot of those guys back there anyway. He was calling
yeah, Andre Ware calls the Friday night games on ESPN.
I do want to add one thing. Can we vote that they take those Georgia uniforms and only use them in the state penal football league? Because they were awful.
All right, but Jeremy, I'm talking about the Miami Hurricanes. Okay. So here, let me stay on point. Okay. Jeremy. And by the way, happy 100th birthday to Jimmy Carter. Okay.
That's amazing. The guy's been in hospital for almost 2 years. That's
all right,
amazing.
but anyways, let me get back to my Canes. Okay. Regardless of what camera angles you have, you can't deny the fact that camward threw for 343 yards and 4 touchdowns and ran for 57 more. He got another touchdown with 5 total touchdowns. But you know what? There's a bigger story in this game, and Candy is going to go ahead and insert the tape in just a moment. And it's a clip from Mario Cristobal on tight end CamCcormick 26, who is in his 9th season playing college football. He played in the Virginia Tech game. He's overcome so many numerous season-ending injuries, and in this game, he had 1 catch for 6 yards and a touchdown. So, a guy playing 9 years in college football. And here's what I had to the question I posed to Coach Cristobal about Cam McCormick, the veteran. All right, let's talk about Cam McCormick. You got him in the game a little bit. What does he mean to this team here, Cam McCormick?
Steady, powerful, strong, sure-handed, great route runner, on point in the running game, excellent run blocker, really good route runner, and every time his number is called, he's come through. So a guy that we all know that we could trust.
All right, there you go. That's what Mario had to say. So, again, you want to talk about an inspiring story, a guy being there 9 years. Who knows if he'll have a pro career or not, but I'm going to tell you something. For him to still play.
Have a pro career.
Well, hey, but
That's it.
yeah, well, you never know. Of course, you have the United Football League, and please don't go to Canada.
These guys don't want to leave now. They're making so much money in NIL. Like, why should I leave?
All right,
This
so
man
here.
has Social Security while still on Miami's roster. Like, what we talking about? He's 26.
You
Yeah,
said
right.
had a guy that was a 7th-year senior. I'm like, well, I mean, I've heard of 6-year seniors. I understand what COVID. You had that injury year, medical redshirt year, whatever. But 9 years for real? I mean, on campus.
My boy could have had 2 masters. What we doing?
So Mel,
I mean, the only time that happens is when you're going to become a doctor. That's when you spend 9 years of school. Most
All
of
right.
us are trying to get the heck out of there as soon as possible. Nobody
Well,
wants to
so
hang around
Mel,
for 9 years.
so Mel, why do you think I brought the topic up? Because it is 9 years, and he did make a contribution.
That's a decade.
I know what
That's a grown man with a 10-year-old son out there beating up on 18-year-olds,
And
man. Come on.
and a grandbaby.
All right, now that we're justifying what 9 years is, and I have a crew that's laughing their what's off. Okay, Jeremy, behind that fist of yours covering your face, okay, because that's what you're doing. Why don't you see if you can come out a little bit and comment on it? Hold on. So real quick, and then we go to a station break, and then we go back to Mel's backyard real quick. What are your thoughts, though, about the Cam McCormick story that he's able to play 9 years despite all those injuries? Albeit 9 years seems like a bit, but so what?
Thank God we'll finally have a rookie next year older than Brandon Whedon.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, Travis.
I said what I need to say. I don't know, man. That's just chaos to me. Like, again, 26. I don't know what to do with that. Like, cool, good for him, I guess. I don't know. But the man's old as hell. I don't know how to respond to that. Again, if you were old enough to have a 10-year-old and you're playing against 18-year-olds, hey man, the game cheating. This is obviously, we got to figure this out. We got to figure that it can't be that. I mean, there's got to be a football D league. Send them to CFL. Send them to NFL Europe, something. But it can't be this.
Well, Candy's obviously back on. So, do you have something to say about this, Candy?
He has suffered multiple season-ending injuries requiring surgeries and living through the COVID-19 pandemic. He was granted his 9th year of NC2A eligibility, extending through the 2024 football season.
Sometimes
He
that's
is
just a sign.
Candy.
Sometimes
He
that's
is
just a
not-
sign.
Huh?
Sometimes
That
that's
just
just a
sound like
sign,
God.
you know?
That just sound like God telling him this ain't for you, bro.
Right. That's a sign.
No. He wasn't actually hurt. He was doing the internship for the hospital he's going to go work at as soon as this year's over.
Okay, well, you know what? Obviously, Jeremy and Travis, so why don't you continue your thought on whether you're joking or you're serious, Bo, about this?
I mean, like Jay in the comments there, he's a little injury prone. He's old. He's not getting drafted. He's going to end up in the UFL or something like that, probably.
Okay, that's fair enough. And now the guy that has come a long way in my system, Mel Farr, who's become unbelievable in his older, experienced days here and outspoken because you were shy as heck when you started, and now you're entertaining as it could be. So, all right, now the floor is yours, Mel, about Cam McCormick.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I couldn't wait to get in. I mean, first of all, let me say, I enjoyed my time at UCLA, but I couldn't wait to get out of UCLA. I didn't want to go to school for one semester, let alone 9 years. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, I understand you want to be around the fellas, but I mean, some of these guys, he can't even relate to them anymore. I mean, because they're a generation younger than him now. The guys, the freshmen that are coming in, they're listening to a whole different type of music that he's listening to. I mean, these guys were they're single digits when he went to college. They're single digits of age, 8, 9-year-old babies when he first went to college and was a grown man and was shaving and all that other kind of stuff. I don't understand. I mean, trust me. I mean, I love the game of football, but sometimes you just gotta, with this old song, you gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them. I mean, it was time for him to fold them. I mean, it was just a sign, and sometimes you just have to listen.
Yeah,
They're starting their third NFL contract who are his age. And he's competing against guys who are 17 and 18 years old. This is crazy. He is Biff Tannen from Back to the Future playing with these kids, man. This is craziness.
They're starting their second contract between 24 and
26.
Yes, between 24 and 26. Because if
the kid from Alabama, he's going to be like 20 years old when he gets drafted. So he's going to be on his third contract.
All right, let's go a few of the comments in the chat room from Jay. He says he'll be a special teams coach. He's committing a crime if he dates a 17-year-old girlfriend. Yeah, I'll give you that one for sure. His knees give him a bunch of signs, and then All right, well, all right. So let me end that topic because we do have to go to a station break, and that's this. Okay, I'm inspired because he's had all those injuries and he's still out there playing football at the U. Whether he goes on to play professionally or not, how can you not be inspired by the guy that keeps on coming back despite injuries after injuries? I know we can laugh at this all day long, and there's so many easy ways that everybody on this panel has laughed. And I can tell you this is the most entertaining topic I have ever put on Inside the Pigskin, let alone any shows, because I have never seen so many interesting, funny, sense of humor reactions as I have with this crew. But I'm inspired, and that's why I put it on there, and that's why Coach Cristobal obviously thought enough of them. And I'm leaving it at that. Folks, if you want to watch these guys crack jokes, you can always go ahead and watch this again and again on the YouTube channel. All right, Jeremy, you want to keep it going? Go ahead.
One more. You now found a guy who's a senior in college that's older than Hendon Hooker.
Okay. All right. With that said, we will go to the station break. Candy, take it away.
Okay. I will. So I won't tell you that he already has his. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. The South Florida Tribune Company published a book last November. It is called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has changed. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple and Google Books. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can get this and all of our shows on wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get a link to Scott's book from our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is also a link to our merchandise. So you can get a hat, sweatshirt, shorts, t-shirt, whatever you name it, go check it out. We also have all kinds of great content on the website. Scott also writes, so does Jeremy, for us. That is www.southfloridatribune.com. If you'd like to advertise or sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. Back to the program.
All right, let's go back to Jay. You know what? That's truth is inspirational, kind of like Rudy. That's a good, interesting reference. And yes, Jay, I did write a book. I'm going to be working on the second part of this later in the year. Whatever I didn't get in the first one, I'm definitely going to make sure I have a second one as well. 40 years, look old enough, thanks to the kind words, but that doesn't mean my body don't feel that way, but I'll take your compliment all day long. Melon, Travis, you don't write? Well, they write in their own way.
Travis writes.
Yeah,
I draw cartoons. I do stuff,
Yeah,
Yeah, we all do, just in different spots.
I write for Big Cat Country, just not long form books.
Okay, that's all right. Bo, right. All right. With that said, let's go on to the next topic. Right in Mel's backyard. Don't have to spend a long time on this one, but it was just too interesting not to put in here. Georgia State did not have to travel far for their game versus Georgia Tech. By car, it goes 1.7 miles to Bobby Dodd Stadium at historic Grant Field. 7 minutes if you walk. 7 minutes by vehicle and walking 28 minutes or 1.2 miles. I don't know what they paid to bring Georgia State over to Georgia Tech, but how would you like to have that as a road game? Less than 2 miles, Jeremy.
The travel time that it reduces is amazing. In other words, you can wake up and walk there. You don't even need to use the bus. You don't have to get in the jet and fly 3 time zones. You literally can call up and say, "Hey, you going my way, bud? Pick me up along the way."
Okay. Travis?
Yeah, that's convenient. That's cool. It's a home field. Basically, it's a home game for everybody. All right, cool. And I could watch it in front of my family. I got no issues, but I guess it's good. I guess it's cool. I don't have much to take from it, but I guess it's fine.
I just
Don't.
think it's interesting that you have a major college game inside of 2 miles. And by the way, for those individuals that don't know where Georgia State plays their football games, they actually played at Turner Field. I think they've renamed it, but they ended up redeveloping that stadium, and Georgia State does have it. Well, let's go to the men that resides in Atlanta. What do you think about these two teams playing? Do you think you have a pretty good rivalry there, Mel, in the works between Georgia State and Georgia Tech?
No, not right now. I mean, yeah, they're right there in the city. Both of them are right there downtown, right in the city. Well, Georgia Tech's a little bit before you get downtown. Georgia State is right downtown.
Right.
But no, not right now. But at some point in time, it would be great for them to have a rivalry. But, Georgia State, they just started their program not too long ago. I think Dan Reeves was instrumental in getting that program started. And they started out as a Division II, F, whatever they call it now. And then, they've moved up to, Division I or FBS now. So, but yeah, they'll be nice because obviously we know that there's a lot of talent here in Georgia, and then with the transfer portal, guys always moving around, and some guys end up getting left out, and they're going to have to transfer down. I mean, that's a great destination. They got a great coach there. I mean, they've done some good things over there at Georgia State. Like you said, they play their home games over there, what used to be Turner Field. So it's a pretty nice little setup that they have over there.
Yeah, actually, Bill Curry was the one who actually built the program from scratch, and then he was the founder and built it, and they've certainly made good progress. So I just wanted to point that out. What do you think, Bo? You have an interesting rival here, kind of, between Georgia State and Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I don't know if they're rivals yet, but being that close is awesome. I mean, never a huge fan of sitting on the bus for hours. So, I mean, if you can have a 2-minute ride, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, and mind you, there's no hotel expenses either. Yeah, you can stay in your dorms unless they're actually putting them up in a hotel.
And they get a check too, right? They get a check too.
Yeah, I think they probably will get a check. I just wish I knew what the amount is, but I don't know. But heck, you know what? For the Atlanta area, I'm glad that the game happened. I really did. And you know what, Jay? I don't know if they took a bus. Usually teams do take a bus. Two games is what they usually do with their equipment. So I would assume.
I think they got those little scooters and little birdies.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Hey, but you know what? I thought it was worthwhile bringing up here because Georgia State is an up-and-coming program, is what they are. We all know that Georgia Tech has been around a while, so it's a lighthearted topic. And boy, I guess I put it in the right spot, knowing that McCormick got as much. It was as humorous as it turned out. You talk about going from one level to another. It worked out well in the chronology that we had. But hey, you know what? I'm happy for Georgia State and Georgia Tech that they did play the game. I got to tell you a funny story though. Here in my neck of the woods, I remember when Lynn University took on Florida Atlantic, and they're pretty close by too. And for a lot of years you didn't want to play them, but they ultimately did when Mike Jarvis took over the program, and it wasn't bad. But this one here in football between Georgia State, like I said, an upcoming program, as well as Georgia Tech, well, it is what it is. It's good. So now I titled this show, How Do You Score 50 Points and Lose? Well, the game I'm really referring to was when James Madison reportedly received a $700,000 guarantee from UNC to play in Chapel Hill. The Dukes put up 70 points and beat UNC 70-50. One would think it's a basketball score. How do you score 50 points and still get blown out? Okay, that's why I incorporated it. I know Mackbrown was angry. This past week he lost to Duke 21-20, but that's a different story. But to lose to James Madison, let me tell you though, James Madison for a while was a really good FCS school that made the transition to FBS. I wouldn't take them lightly, but to win 70-50, oh my goodness! All right, Jeremy, you can start off here.
Well, it's convenient that it's a basketball school because James Madison played a basketball school. Hey, look at that. A basketball score happened.
Anything else you want to add to it?
No, that's pretty much it because what else is there to add? They beat them by 20 by scoring 70 points. Defense was non-existent in this game. It was all offense. Everybody ran all over each other, threw the ball. There was probably 1,000 yards total offense between the two teams.
Yeah, Coach mackbrown aged by about 30 years that day. I'll turn over to Travis. What do you think of this one?
That was wild. And what's wilder about it, because again, it's James Madison versus UNC. I didn't watch it, but I'm gonna be clear about this. I didn't watch this game, but just reading about it after the fact, I'm like, what the? They scored 53 points at halftime. 53 at the half. James Madison. That is wild. So I'm looking at I'm doing like $10,000 per point given up. That's how much you paid them to beat you down. Like $10,000. Like you can get less for that going to Amsterdam, bro. You could have flown the whole team there and just had a blast. But $10,000 a point? That's wild. All right. So, anyways, it was just kind of craziness. But knowing that Duke had already been 3-0 and they hadn't given up a lot of points in the previous games, I believe they even since they played that game, they gave up just 20 points in the next game. So I'm just like, yo, what happened? Like, I don't know if James Madison was playing a different type of offense that they don't normally play or something. Like, I don't know how that occurred for playing against a bigger, better, supposedly better team that was already 3-0. So again, because I didn't watch the game, I don't want to be weird about it, but I have to assume it was one of those freaky, wonky little things where they're just playing a different type of offense that you just don't see very often. I don't know what in the wing tees or just straight drop back, 5 wide every down or some chaos like that. But that's just craziness.
I mean, UNC turned the ball over 5 times. So, I mean, that probably led to some of it. But there was 1,200 yards of offense in this.
Did I not call it? I said there'd be over 1,000, and I didn't watch the game.
All right, well.
Yards per play were almost 8 yards for both teams.
Leave it to our crack statistician, Bo, to come up with some good stuff that we don't have.
James, I also did not watch this game, so I had to look it up.
Well, no, it's all right. So what? You looked it up. How many games have I watched? I've been at 6 or 7 of these things already. 5 Miami ones, and I've been to one over at FAU, and that was interesting to begin with. So I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of games. Let's go back to the chat room.
I probably watched it.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I mean, when I saw the score, I had some memory issues, wondering, am I hearing about basketball, or am I hearing football? And then, oh my goodness, when I read it the next day, goodness. But all right, let's go back to Jay. He's on a roll. When James Madison played the game for UNC, the coach was good. Boy, it seemed like it after the presser. So when UNC had expectations, though, one of the biggest letdowns year to date in college football. Can't argue there. UNC has nice unis. Somebody was paying to the unis. And James Madison was all over ESPN over the weekend. Yeah, I can only imagine.
I'm just look at these scores. They gave up 17, 20, 10, 50, and 21 points. The 50 is the one that's just obviously way different than the rest of them. Like, that's the game. They gave up 50 points after never giving up more than 21 in any other game. What do you do with that?
I do have one caveat, though. At least UNC didn't pay him $1.6 million like Notre Dame did to get beat.
True.
By Northern Illinois, because they paid $1.6 million. So at least they saved $900,000 to get beat.
Well, that's all. Hey, listen, that's a good point. But Bo, anything else you want to add? You are a crack statistician on something that definitely needed to be researched. I'm glad you said it.
No, there's really nothing to add to that. That's absolute trash defense. Like, I would have been mad the whole time watching that game.
Well, at least you probably had a pretty good crowd expecting a win, and boy, they walked out with their heads between their legs. All right, we'll give Mel the last word on this particular game.
Well, I mean, to answer your question, I mean, how do you score 50 points and lose? I mean, you give up 70. That's how you end up losing. So, you know, James Madison, I mean, they dominated at the FCS level. They know what they're doing there as far as recruiting wise and playing football. I've watched them a little bit in some of their championship runs, and they play good football down there. And those guys probably took them a little lightly. North Carolina, being that they were one of those, I guess they might consider themselves a blue blood, but like everybody else says, like Jeremy says, UNC, they're a basketball school, just like UCLA. As much as I'd like to say that they're a football school, UCLA is a basketball school as well. But I think those guys probably took them lightly. I mean, there was a lot of high expectations for North Carolina this year, and they've struggled this year. Obviously, I don't know. Again, I didn't watch one snap of this game. I just saw the score at the end and saw that James Madison had beat him. I was like, oh wow, James Madison beat North Carolina. And that was about the extent of my what I did as far as this game is concerned. I didn't dig into it or anything like that. But I do know that James Madison, from watching them years past, they play very good football.
Yeah, they do. And like I alluded to before they graduated to FBS, they were a really big powerhouse at the FCS level. Don't ever sell those schools short, but that are in FCS, because we've seen enough of those upsets throughout the years. We all know it started with Michigan and Appalachian State, but I'm not picking on the Wolves. I can tell you right now, there are a lot of schools after that have certainly drank the Kool-Aid.
App State's still different. That's different because they were Division II at that time.
Right. No, I understand. I'm just talking about App State. But 70-50, my goodness, it was so unbelievable. And you can only wonder what mackbrown was thinking the entire week. All right, let's move on to Thursday Night Football. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. This is some information because I want to make sure everybody has their parting shots. Thursday Night Football's Cowboys-Giants matchup, exclusive to Prime Video, shattered the record for the most streamed NFL regular season ever with 16.22 million viewers. I'll ask you guys a straight question. Jeremy, are you surprised at that number? Yes or no?
Not really, because streaming internet service is becoming the norm. Everybody started getting used to it last year. And so the ones that they had already, they've kept, and they're going to add to it because they're adding streaming services that are going to carry the NFL.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, Travis?
I guess I'm in the same boat. It's just these are two generally big markets, even if they're not the greatest teams. We're early enough in the season where they still have they're still full of hope. They still have that hopium that's pulling on their heartstrings, unfortunately. So the Giants fans think that there's still a future for their team, and the Cowboys still think that there's some modicum of a possibility that they might actually win their division. So they're going to watch the game. And again, two big markets, it makes total sense. And to Jeremy's original point, the streaming services are kind of blowing up. People are getting away from cable even more often. That's just where we live now.
Mel?
Yeah, I find that hard to believe. I didn't think anybody was really watching that game. That game was not very interesting. I didn't watch it. I was flipping back and forth between reruns of 2.5 Men and Law and Order. That game, it didn't do anything to hold my interest. I'll just be honest with you. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I seriously said to myself going to bed, like, they got to be losing money on this Amazon deal because I can't believe anybody's watching it. The volume's not right on the game for whatever reason. The volume is real low with the announcers. Who is it? Who does it? Al Michaels. He's old and tired. I mean, I'm tired of listening.
Tired. I can tell he's an Al Michaels fan.
I mean, I think he's just gotten real arrogant, so to speak, with the way that he announces the game, and he's not very relatable to me. And I think he sounds like he's bored. He's just like, man, I just got to do this again. Let me just go ahead and do it. Say the same old thing. Say the same old things that I've been saying for all these years, and we just say it. Try to act like I'm excited so I can keep this paycheck coming. He doesn't have any enthusiasm. It's terrible. It's terrible television for me. Now that's just me. Now it could be great for everybody else, but for me, that's how I look at it.
Okay.
I find him funny only because you can tell he hates the matchups of Thursday Night Football because he just about says on air, this game is trash.
Right.
So I find that hilarious. but yeah, I mean, you're right. He's not excited about it. But I mean, how many of us are excited about Thursday Night Football?
That's true.
Because generally the matchups are terrible. So like if I was employed to do one of the games and they're like, yeah, you're going to do Thursday night, you're like, man, really? I'm going to get the worst game of the week?
Right. Right. I'm like, I just said they got to be losing money, because I don't want to watch this stuff. Like I said, I'm channel surfing.
So, Bo, what are your thoughts about the 16.22 million viewers? Are you impressed with that at least?
I mean, not really.
Okay.
That's you're like everything's gearing towards the streaming services. So,
Right.
I mean, you have Thursday night on Amazon. You have half of NBC's games on Peacock. You got, looks like my signal might be a little messed up here.
You're
That's
good.
all right.
No, we can hear you.
But so yeah, I mean, you also have, if I remember right, there's going to be one random game on Netflix. There's, some of the games that are on the NFL streaming service. So I mean, at the end of the day, people are just getting used to being on all these streaming services.
All right. So Jay's got some useful information. Al Michaels is 79 years old. Who's the best commentator now for NFL or college football games? You know what? I would like to use that for another night, unless you guys want to talk about it now. The only Thursday games I like, Lions Thanksgiving game. Cheers there, Jay. Viewers can be misleading as well. All right. Well, you know what? Let's answer Jay's question real quickly. Okay. Jeremy, who do you think is the best commentator now for NFL or college football games?
Pre-game wise, it's Pat McAfee, because I love the way he trolls the Georgia Bulldogs and then goes roll tide. Gets them all hyped up. That's great. In game, I used to like Tony Romo, but he's kind of gotten a little bit too verbose lately. It used to be right straightforward to the point. I like Al Michaels and what he does on Thursday night, especially when the scoring is bad in the first half. I remember 4 games in that first season on Amazon, he goes, if we have another night where we don't have a touchdown before the half, I might hang myself live on the air.
Okay.
Wow.
It was like that. That's comment.
I mean, that's boring radio.
All right. Well, you know what? Here, Travis, just pick one because Jeremy was pushing the envelope, slipping in too. But all right, go ahead.
I don't really have one if I want to keep it real with you. I mute the TV half the time I'm watching. I really watch the game for the sake of watching the game, and I kind of just come to my own conclusions.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. You can defer on this one. What about you, Bo?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of the same as Travis here. Like I don't really have a favorite commentator. I do think Al Michaels is kind of funny, especially 2 weeks ago. He's like, oh, that's the 147th flag today. So I mean, he has moments, but yeah, for the most part, a lot of times I also have it muted because I'm analyzing the game rather than listening to it.
What about you, Mel?
Well, most games it's work for me. I'm actually writing about the game, so I don't want to hear these guys talk about it and throw me off of what I'm trying to think about. That's different.
No, that's what I mean.
We're in press boxes. We don't listen to them anyway. Travis, it doesn't matter. We don't hear them.
Look at me. Ooh, look at me. I actually like I like Joe Buck and I like Troy Aikman and I in college football I like it used to be Vern Lundquist and Gary Danielson, but I like Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson. I guess that's because it was the old SEC football, but they don't call SEC football games anymore because CBS lost that contract to ESPN, the big pimp. So I like to hear what they say. I like to hear people who know what they're talking about when they're talking about the game, not just somebody who's just talking to be talking. Like I know Coach can't stand Chris Collinsworth. I think I think Chris probably reneged on a job for him at Pro Football Focus after he retired. I think he probably told him he was going to get him a job there, and he didn't get him one there. And that's why he can't stand him. But I mean, he just talks to be talking sometimes, and really not looking at the game. I think he just likes to hear himself talk. So, but I like to hear people that really know the game and really are analyzing the game or really talking about the game, and not just talking to make it about them versus about the game.
Okay, well, I'll throw a couple of names out there. Number one, one of the best college announcers that I've ever seen is Don Criqui. Don Crickey was unbelievable. He called the Orange Bowl many years when Miami won it
The
all.
question is right now, isn't it? They didn't say forever.
Yeah, I know. I said one of the best before. I'm not done yet. Okay, but no, I mean, I've always liked Vern Lundquist. I mean, he's an absolute pro. But hey, listen, Mel. Remember one thing, man. Okay,
It's your show. I got it.
No, I had that had nothing to do with it. It's all our show. Forget that.
Off the rails since the start.
No. Let me finish. Okay, I've always liked Vern Lundquist. Are you kidding? But here, I'll give you another one in the past. What about Lindsey Nelson many years ago too? This guy, you know, I'm showing my age now, but nowadays I like Vern Lundquist and Brad Nessler. They're pretty good. Now, Greg Olson to me is high on my list, and I think that I like Greg Olson. Joe fucking Troy Aikman, I've always liked them too. But Greg Olson, Kevin Bernhardt, but the one I really like the most is Joe Davis.
Joe Davis.
Joe Davis, yeah.
What is he? Like regional sports? What is it?
No, he's the number 2. He's on the number 2 team for Fox. Look him up. I actually met him in L.A. He's a voice of the L.A. Dodgers.
Never heard of him.
I mean, if we're just going back. Like I always enjoyed Madden and Summerall because you would get dumber and smarter at the same time, right? Like he had all this football knowledge, and then he put it out there in a way where you're just like, "What are you even talking about?"
So, you're too young. You're too young, Bo. But the best was like Howard Cosell and Frank Gifford and Don Meredith. That was like the best.
Yeah, well, you know, I have a lot of things I'd say about Howard Cosell, and if I could ever get fined in this business, I probably would with what I'd have to say. So I'll just leave it alone.
You're probably too young. You probably never heard that broadcast booth, did you?
Oh, I mean, tell you, I heard of him. Howard Cosell and I had a few words at the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, no, as a kid, sure, yeah.
No, I was working the game with the Miami Dolphins, and Howard Cosell and I had a few words. So the interview I got instead was O.J. Simpson. He was pretty good back then too. I'll leave it at that. So, I mean, O.J. Hey, listen, I forgot about what he did later on, but he was a hell of an interview for somebody getting into business. You know, I mean, I met Howard Cosell. I didn't like the guy. He doesn't like helping out young guys trying to break into the business. But you know what?
Trying to take his job. Of course not.
Yeah, give me a break. An arrogant Jewish lawyer like him that turned into a sportscaster.
There was only one Howard Cosell.
Yeah, there is. And you know what? Let me tell you, what all you had to do was look at the top of his head, and you can find that toupee anywhere you want at any kind of.
Well, you know, Ali made plenty of fun of Howard Cosell. I mean, they had a great relationship.
Yeah, Howard Cosell and me, you know, I hate the guy's guts. Tell it like it is. I'll tell it like it is, Howard. Okay, I'm glad that you went out of boxing because you couldn't handle it any longer. Because after all this time, I think the one fight, I know I'm really getting off topic a little bit here.
That's deceased.
Well, that doesn't matter if he's deceased. I like Keith Jackson that Jay mentioned too.
Keith Jackson was one of my favorites.
But let me tell you something about. Yeah, I am holding a grudge against this guy. I hate his guts. I mean, I can't put any more simpler than that. You could take that rug off his head and stick it over his mouth for all I care. It doesn't make any difference. I'm just saying. You know, I think of Howard Cosell like I think of Herman Edwards. Get me going there.
We can tell.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I hate Howard Cosell.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to open up an old wound.
No, you ain't open up no old wounds. I'm just giving everybody a history lesson here. Howard Cosell.
Man, you know, my favorite play-by-play person is whoever called the Malice at the Palace. That's all I remember. I didn't even get a chance to see it live. I had to see it after the fact, but the play-by-play was hilarious. So I just like, hey, and he someone throws something at him, and he throws it, and he punches him in the face, and everything. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't even know who it was. I can't tell you that today. I just know I didn't see it live, and I only saw it after the fact, and I'm just like, that's the kind of thing that's where I'm at. Whoever made that, GOAT.
You know, I've been listening. You know, since Tom Brady decided to step in the booth, I kind of pay attention to the color guys now. And there's a lot of guys, you know, a lot of good color guys. There really are a lot of guys that have been doing it for a long time and doing an extremely good job. And I'm sure Tom is going to get better. I don't remember how Troy was his first year, but I don't remember him me saying, "Oh, he stinks." I know that, or I don't remember me saying, "Ooh, that's hard. He's hard to listen to." You know, but obviously, you know, Troy's been doing it for a long time, so he's got a great feel for it. A lot of guys do, but Tony Romo, I mean, I didn't even know the guy talked, to be honest with you. And for him to hit the ground and run the way that he did was very surprising to me. So, to see, and I guess it's just because Tom just decided to jump into it. I don't know why he'd want to take this kind of job and not a studio job or something like that, but
money.
All right, so here, let me go back to my friend Howard Cosell. Okay,
I was trying to get off of Howard.
Yeah, but I'm going back on it. Okay, number one, I was so happy that Larry Holmes and Randall Tex Cobb had a fight where Randall Tex Cobb got his head beat in, and then Howard Cosell retired after that, so I didn't have to listen to him. Now, Jay, in the chat room, Herman Edwards.
Did you ask for an autograph and not get it or something, Scott? I mean, what happened?
No, not at all. I wouldn't want that Scott taking 2-page autograph for nothing. Tried to get an interview. You don't like young guys. O.J. Simpson. Hey, you know what? That was okay. Leave him alone.
Just walk in your house and kick your cat or something? Like
no, I just hated Howard Cosell. I just didn't.
No, it wasn't that simple. I just hated him.
What? Yeah, so now let's go back to Jay in the chat room, because this guy is really on fire tonight. Herman Edwards is bad. Well, here's what my issue is with Herman Edwards, okay? Now that we're back on my favorite subject, okay? This guy, there you go. Pull out the popcorn. I love it. This is a lot of about in second here. Let me hold on, Mel. Okay, now it's my turn to bash Herman Edwards again. Thanks for my buddy.
Is this just a weekly segment?
I'm supposed to be saving your voice?
Huh? Well, yeah. Right. Not when I get to Herman Edwards. Albeit I got two vocal cords sitting right next to each other.
Candy, where are you?
Yeah, she's out there. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. This is getting out of control here.
Do I mute him or what?
No, nobody's muting me. I swear, I'm not going down quietly tonight. Well, here. Yeah, don't worry. She will in a minute. But here's the thing. Herman Edwards is bad. You know why I don't like this guy? Because he doesn't know his football history. He said, I've never seen anybody die on the field. Well, hello, you ever heard of Chuck Hughes? And you're 67 years old. You're older. You ought to know your damn history, Herman. And it doesn't help. And I don't think the people in Phoenix like you, because you left the Arizona State football program in shambles. So, Herman Edwards, get the hell out of here. All right.
Herm, I like you, Herm.
No, actually, wasn't Herman Edwards a Hall of Famer?
I wish people were this angry about regular education, just knowing your history. He is mad about this man not knowing sports history. I'm like, oh gosh, all right, cool.
Let me tell you something. American history was one of my favorite. I should say favorite sports subjects. Okay, but Herman wasn't a Hall of Famer. No, he's a Hall of Shamer. All right, we'll leave it at that.
I love Herm. I like Herm.
Yeah, well, that's you. Okay, but I do know one thing. He had a book that my buddy Jim Tunney wrote for him, so that's all right. So there we go. Yeah, let me tell you.
I like it, Win. I like it.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you. Jim Tunney was a good guy. He gave me plenty of time at the Super Bowl in Jacksonville. But Mel does know how to get me going once in a while. I've known this guy forever, so it is what it is. So
I did not know you had it in for Howard Cosell like that.
Oh, yeah, whatever. You know what? Maybe this is one show that maybe Coach Bono was probably glad he didn't make it tonight, because I have the right audience to tell this stuff.
Anybody else we need to steer clear from?
What's that?
Anyone else we can steer clear from?
You from going on for 20 minutes. That's what I want to know.
What's that?
Who else do we not need to mention going forward that'll make you rant for 20 minutes?
Yeah,
I don't know.
So we know Herm Edwards and Howard Cosell. Is there anybody else?
Oh, Dan Marino.
Oh yeah. Get me started with Dan Marino. But you know what? But I'm not going to go there. I'm gonna stay off Dan Marino, because I picked on two big clowns already between Howard Cosell. Go to hell. Okay. Ooh, that was strong.
I mean, he might already be in there. Like, why?
Yeah, he might already be in hell. Yeah, I don't care about him. Let me tell you, Howard Cosell and Herman Edwards. You know what? He's one of the reasons I don't even watch ESPN anymore.
What's in that cup, Scott? What do you have in your cup? You got some of that Diddy in there?
Oh, no.
That drink.
Oh, yeah. On
that drink.
Oh, here. No, I'll tell you what I got in my cup. I got Diet Georgia Peach Iced Tea. Okay.
Got some of that Diddy in there.
No, that's not bad. Let me tell you. No, I have my Diet Mountain Dew earlier. No, I have a drink from your state, brother. I'm telling you. Yes, well, I'm glad we're having a lot of fun. This is a great show. Coach Bono, if you're listening out there, you're probably glad you couldn't make this show, because I think you really would have bailed earlier when you watched me tee off on YouTube, bozos. Because I'm telling you, other than Candy being a good date, one of my favorite dates was that lady called Big Bertha. That golf club where you hit the thing straight, and I hit it a long way, which is where my voice is going anyway. So, all right, well, we'll change it a little bit before I get something. No, I'm not going to pick on Dan Marino tonight, okay? Because I'll wait another night when I have two out of the way. But what I will mention, one of the most even series ever is the Saints and the Falcons. Their all-time record head-to-head competition was 55-55. Guess what happened on Sunday? Atlanta went up 56-55 with a 26-24 win at home on Sunday. Just a little FYI. Though it's always actually, Jay, I like Larry Bird. I'll tell you what, Jay, let me give you some information, buddy. If you go ahead and buy Lessons from the Microphone, Candy, why don't you put it up there? You'll see who some of my favorite people in that book. Lessons from the Microphone. You can get it on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes and Noble. Larry Bird's one of my favorite people. I would rave all good things about Larry Bird. Candy's got it up in here as well. You can get it that way. So, yeah, it's good to see the Saints and the Falcons have a pretty good rivalry. Jeremy, what do you think? I mean, it's as even as it gets, doesn't it?
Pretty much. I mean, I thought Atlanta would win because I feel like the Saints got a little exposed the week before, and they showed a lot of weaknesses that you didn't see versus the weaker teams they played. And lo and behold, Atlanta got it done.
Okay. Hey, you know what? Jay asked, can I get it autographed? You know what? If you contact us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com or leave your phone number, we'll find a way to get you some sort of an autograph there. And can you write how much you hate Cosell and Edwards in the note? If that's what you want, Jay, I'll be more than happy to do it. I have the inside cover, and then I have other ways for the really long messages. If that's how you want it customized, all I'm telling you.
That's another book.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm working on another one too, Jay. So, but yeah, I mean, it is an even rivalry. Saints and the Falcons. Travis.
I mean, they always play each other very well. I mean, obviously being in the same division and everything else, but also to Jeremy's point a second ago, the Saints kind of allowed teams those first 2 weeks they kind of brought out their playbook that first 2 weeks and kind of caught a few teams off guard, not really knowing what they're going to do. And as more tape comes out, the defenses get better. That's just kind of how this thing works. Unfortunately, they came up against a team who kind of generally knows them as far as their skills are concerned, as far as their traits are concerned, and also now had a little bit more tape to kind of be prepared for them. They were kind of I don't want to say they were exposed the previous week because everybody doesn't have the personnel the Eagles have necessarily. But yeah, the Falcons are one of the teams that do. So they were able to kind of play a lot more of that man or play a lot more of that cover one and kind of take all the things that they wanted to do away as far as scheming everything open. It also didn't help that the Saints even lost Taysom Hill at one point in the game because he had 2 touchdowns when he went out of the game initially. That kind of made them a little bit more one-dimensional in that way too. But hey, a win's a win, and nobody cares when you're talking at week 18. How did you win? Yeah, you won the game. A very important divisional game. So yeah, good for them. But I still don't know if the Falcons are good, and that's the weirdest part about this whole conversation.
Hey, Jay, we'll go ahead and make sure we take care of that for you. Also, Jay, if you haven't already, will you kindly subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel as well? We would appreciate it. The way you've been in the chat room tonight, you're classic. I enjoy talking about everything you've had. You've really brought it to the table tonight. We could have very well made you this unofficial sixth host on here. You were hitting bullseyes all night. But we'll make that happen for you. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll find a way to get you. You just tell me what you want, and we'll get on the phone, and I'll make sure that we can get you something that'll make sure that it's definitely intended for you first and last name. Candy and I'll work on that. So, all right, Bo, with that said, let's talk about this rivalry. I have an FYI. I have a few RIPs, and then everybody can have their own parting shots. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. And I mean, personnel wise, you thought it was going to be kind of a coin toss. And I mean, it sort of came down that way. So, yeah, I mean, it was a fun game. They know each other well. So I mean,
Wow.
not to really add to it.
Well, Jay, you've earned the kind words. Let me tell you, you're an awesome person. And we're just so glad that you can be friends of the show and all that stuff. So God bless, pal. We'll make it all happen. All right, Mel, it's in your neck of the woods. You know, the Saints and the Falcons, 55 and 55. Well, now 56, 55 in favor of Atlanta.
Yeah, and they really don't like each other too much either. So I didn't know what to expect from Atlanta. Obviously, they have a new coach there, Kirk Cousins. You know, he's trying to figure things out. But it's a back and forth game. It's a good football game. Anybody could have won the game. The Falcons ended up winning the game at the end. But yeah, it's been a very, very hard fought rivalry. I mean, these teams really do not like each other, and the fan bases don't care for each other either. So, but it's nice to see because a rivalry. In order to have a rivalry, there's got to be it's got to be competitive. Obviously, this rivalry has been very competitive.
Okay, Bo has to go. So before you leave, Bo, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the socials at Football Talk with Bo. Right there on the screen at Football-Talk is my YouTube, and Roku TV 5 days a week.
And also, you do a show with Coach Bono, I think, on Wednesdays, I believe?
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock.
Wednesdays at 4 Eastern, called Coach's Corner.
All right, well, Bo, great to have you tonight. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday night. All right, partner?
Take it easy, guys.
All right, thanks for handling the rants, too, by the way. They're classic, especially. All right, with that said, there's 4 of us left. Okay, we'll keep it going. And I just have a couple of FYIs now. Georgia, Alabama, average 12 million viewers on Saturday. ESPN, ABC's most watched regular season college game since 2017. Nobody should be surprised at that number. I'll have a couple of rest in pieces out there. Chris Christopherson recently passed away. Mercurymorris passed away. Dikembemutombo and Peterose, and of course the actor who played on Beverly Hills Cop, John Ashton, and of course John Amos, we found out about today from Good Times. So, you guys have any comments about any of these folks that unfortunately passed on?
Yeah, I mean, we have a family chat. My kids, it was the title of it was one thing, and my kids, because it seemed like every time I put something in there, it's somebody passing away. So now they changed it to today's obituaries. My kids, because every time I post in there, it seems to be somebody's passed away. But yeah, I mean, and as we get older, more and more people that we kind of grew up with are leaving out here. I mean, that's inevitable. I mean, that's one of the things. One of these days, our names are going to be read off. And but yeah, the thing about with Pete Rose is, you just kind of look back at his career. I remember Charlie Hustle and all that kind of stuff, and it's unfortunate what happened to him as far as baseball is concerned. But I think, nobody's perfect. There are a lot of people in the Hall of Fame who are not perfect citizens. And I truly believe, even though he did bet on baseball, I understand that that's probably the worst thing that you can do, because you're messing with the integrity of the game. But I wish he would have had an opportunity to, because I think at some point in time they'll put him in the Hall of Fame. But I wish they would have given him his flowers while he was still here.
Yeah, well, here's the deal with Pete Rose. Number one, nobody was going to put him in the Hall of Fame while he was alive. Posthumously, I think that was his best shot. How long it'll take for that to happen. The one thing you can't do is have an autograph signing during Hall of Fame weekend to sell your autographs and show up to Hall of Fame inductions. And he made a lot of mistakes like that didn't help his cause. Commissioner Bud Selig and
you guys got to eat, man. He's got to eat, right?
Yeah, though I don't think Pete Rose was lacking any meals, that's for sure.
Well, I wouldn't say he's lacking any meals, but I mean, he needs money. The guy's got to get, he's got to earn a living.
Yeah, well, don't tell that to Bud Selig and Rob Manfred that you can have an autograph signing. Just don't show up my or historical event. That's all I'll say about it. Who knows if he will ever get in? Time will tell. But as far as the rest in peace, Candy and I had a chance to meet Mercurymorris during a Super Bowl, a taste of the NFL event. And Mercury was just a great guy, and obviously played on the undefeated Dolphins. Dikembemutombo, great player, great humanitarian. John Ashton, I did not like the guy who played on Beverly Hills Cop, and Chris Christopherson. So, unfortunately, these are the most recent passings away. So with that said, you guys want to comment any, or you want to just go to parting shots?
Go on to part.
Yeah, party shots. Let's do it.
All right, go ahead, Jeremy. Give me your parting shot real quick.
How about them Tigers? Hottest team in baseball go out today to Derek Scrubel shuts down the Astros. They tried to give it away because they only had a 3-run lead, but hey, they got it done. And here's an interesting tidbit about the people that get the play-in wild card game. The teams that go 1-0 are 20-0 in game 2.
Interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. I like
Now,
that. All right.
did the wild card game used to be just one game?
Yeah, it did. But now they made it 2 out of 3.
Okay.
Yeah, they did. All right. Travis, what's your parting shot?
NFL players, I need y'all to get off social media, man. I do. I need it. I need it so much. Devon Achane, the running back for the Miami Dolphins, he kind of snapped on fans basically for basically saying that he doesn't give about their parlays and everything else. Everything that we do is to win. I don't care if I have 100 yards or 0 yards. I'm doing this. We're doing this to win. And I'm just like, bro, if you lose a game, NFL players, and I know you're listening because y'all always listen. They're always listening. They're always on the socials. Hey man, just get off the social medias. Like, obviously, it's going to be trolls. It's going to be people that's pissed that they lost their money. It's going to be people that just don't like your team. Whatever it is, just get off the socials because you're just making yourself sound like a crazy person. And I just thought it was a wild response that he puts on the socials talking about that in a game that they lost. If you didn't even win the game, so you can't be like, I don't care if I got 100 yards or 0 yards. We're doing this to win. Did you win? Then what are we doing, man? Come on, man. Just get off the socials. Nothing good will come of this, I promise you. And you'll probably be happier. Come on, man. Do better. Be better.
Okay, I like that too. Okay, Mel, what's your parting shot?
Well, there's trouble brewing in Westwood. It's a lot of upset folks right now in Westwood with what's going on with the football program there in UCLA. Not real happy with the direction of the program right now. Don't really know what direction the program's going in. Looks like a 7-on-7 team. Every time I watch them, they cannot run the football. I think they're second to last in rushing in the country. That's not good. When Chip Kelly was there, they were one of the best teams in the country rushing. So you go, you just flip it. You're one of the worst. Nice helmet. I like that helmet because I like the black unions with that helmet. That's nice there, Jeremy. But yeah, well, I mean, we're struggling, man. I don't know the direction of the program. I'm very upset. My brother went down to that LSU game. That wasn't pretty. And then they just played. Who they just played? Who was that? Oregon they just played? Was that? I think they just had Oregon, and that was like they had all the players come back for that game, and it wasn't pretty. They didn't fare very well. So my brother was up in Detroit yesterday. Got opportunity to talk to Troy, and I know he's made some rumblings that he's not real happy with the direction of the program, and a lot of people feel that way.
Okay. Well, just a couple of college games worth note over the weekend. Michigan and Washington face each other in Seattle, rematch of the national championship game. Michigan State goes to Oregon. That's another interesting football game. And, of course, Miami finally leaves the state of Florida for the first time as they travel to California to take on the University of California. There you have a lot of that east to west travel. The only parting shot I'm going to say is I don't think it's a parting shot. Happy birthday to Jimmy Carter, 100. He's the first president ever to reach the century mark. God bless. I mean, I'm not going to talk about his presidency. I don't do that, but I can tell you, like Dikembemutombo, from what I understand about the man, he was one of the best humanitarian people out there.
Mm.
And you know something, I think that's something that should definitely be discussed. I don't care. I can talk and go ranting about Howard Cosell, how much I hate his guts, Herman Edwards, but I'm going to tell you one thing about President Carter making it to 100. More power to you, Mr. President, for making 100. You just put yourself in history, and you have a record I'm not sure that any president will ever break. You are in territory which is, to me, fertile. And, Mel, you talked about Chip Kelly real quick. He must have known what was going on there when he went to Ohio State and think, I didn't need all the pressure going into the Big Ten. He lived Ohio State. So maybe he knew a lot more than what we knew to make the change for a little bit less money. I don't know. So
I don't
with
think
that,
NIL. I don't think, and I think a lot of coaches don't want to deal with that NIL.
yeah, well, you're right. And you know what? And next week, actually, I talked to Tom Herman, and I'm going to bring it on next week. I don't like to have two clips on in one night.
And that's a job in itself.
Well, I've got a nice clip just to let everybody know that we're going to have on about NIL regarding Tom Herman, but I didn't want to put it on tonight because I want to give CamCcormick his due, and think we got more than we bargained for in that topic for sure. So, all right, Candy. Yeah, right, Jeremy. So, but you can. All right, Candy, take us home.
So, the South Florida Tribune published a book last December called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning in the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple, and Google Books. You can also find a link to it on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can find a link to our merchandise store as well as great articles from Jeremy and Scott and pictures that I've taken and all kinds of other great content. Go to our website to find out more. You can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find ours as well. If you'd like to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. All of this has been scrolling on the bottom, or you can always hit rewind. If you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, please click it. Like us, share us with all your friends and family. Anybody that you know would enjoy any of our content. And then again, for all the people that are on our panels for all our different shows, please go and watch their stuff as well. Okay, Jeremy, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, as you heard, I write for the SouthFloridaTribune.com, which is where my writings are underneath the heading of Motor City Tribune. You also can find me right here on the South Florida Tribune for the Fire Up Show, definitely, anytime Scott needs me here, and also on the nofilter.net we do on Wednesday.
Right.
And, of course, you can find me on my channel, which J.I. mentioned that it's my fault because I aired it to my channel. That's why he's in the comments. But J.I. is a great fan. Thank you for watching. And also, I think even Scott, yeah, I read that. He mentioned me in the book. But anyways.
No, yeah, sure, I did mention you in the book. Yeah, J.I., like I said, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel as well. Jeremy is mentioned in the book as he rightfully deserved to be. So, and of course, J.I., you also have an open invitation to come on any show you want. Just contact us if you want to come on.
And by the name you see there, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me at Smokin' Jeremy B on Twitter, at Smokin' Jeremy B1 on Instagram. And you can find my show, Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick anytime it goes live.
Well done, Jeremy.
Travis.
Oh, well, I can be found on Travis D. Holmes on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I don't know. I believe MySpace is still up somewhere out there. All the socials. You can also find my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, bigcatcountry.com. We also have the Duval Dive, a Jaguars podcast. That's on Wednesdays at 7:30 with myself and Kyle, the student of the game, Nash, with Fans First Sports Network, where we talk about the Jaguars, kind of giving you the updates of what's going on with this chaotic team right now. So definitely log in, like and subscribe there. And if you're listening to us, obviously, inside the pigskin. Let's go. Come on. Tuesdays. 8 o'clock, 8:05, 8:15. If you listen to it, again, like and subscribe on YouTube, catch us on the podcasters, all that stuff. Come on, man. And I believe that will make Mel Nets.
Yeah, I can be found on all the social media at Melfar Jr., Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, not Twitter, X, I'm sorry. And then you can follow what we have going on here in Georgia and also up in Michigan for the youth at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Okay, Scott, back to you.
All right. Well, once again, great show. I'll actually go out there and declare unofficial co-host tonight. Joshua Thor was in there for a little while. Jay, you were a hit tonight. You were really a hit. And I am so glad you came on, and we appreciate the kind work about the podcast. I'm only as good as what I have to work around me. I don't take too much credit. I always had that attitude. Let's see what we can do better the next time. So meanwhile, that does conclude this edition of Inside the Pigskin. On behalf of Bo Crouch, Candy Ebling, our producer, Jeremy Ballrick, Mel Farr Jr., and Travis Holmes. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin, and we will see you next Tuesday night. Good night, everybody.